Hello, and welcome to Lenape High School's Special Education Department 8th grade Parent Night presentation. My name is Amanda Castle. I'm the Supervisor of Special Education here at Lenape High School. Tonight's presentation has a few objectives. First off, to ease some of the fears associated with the transition to high school, prepare you for the course selection process at Lenape High School, and begin to develop an effective partnership that's critical to your child's success and the continued success of our programs. I wanted to start by introducing our child study team at Lenape High School. We have several members of our child study team: Dr. Jackie Chambers, Danielle O'Brien, Corinne Sheldon, Maureen Hibbold, Cambriana Corona, and Debbie Goldsboro. During the time of transition, you will be assigned a case manager from Lenape High School, who will be working in conjunction with the case manager of your child currently. We also have district administration for our child study team. Abby DeMena is the Lenape and Seneca Child Study Team Supervisor, and Patricia is the Lenape Regional High School District Director of Special Services. So let's talk a little bit about the transition timeline. Starting in December, Special Education Supervisor, myself, and our Child Study Team Supervisor, Mrs. DeMena, would hold an initial articulation meeting with their sending schools. So that has occurred in December, and moving forward with our timeline, everything will be updated based upon our virtual experience, but that meeting did occur, and we already have articulated some initial information for students who have an IEP who are at Harrington and Hartford schools that would be coming to Lenape. Next step is the Lenape case manager has a student observation and teacher meetings. These are usually scheduled for January and February. Due to COVID-19, these may be done in a virtual setting, but all the case managers mentioned before will be assigned to do some student observations and to meet with teachers to learn a little bit more about your child. In March, Lenape will hold teacher observations and meetings as well as a follow-up. So different teachers within our programs here at Lenape High School, special education teachers usually make a trip over to the sending schools to do an observation and meet with the teachers to talk about learning levels and appropriate placements for students. That may also, due to COVID-19, be in a virtual setting. In the spring, Lenape and Harrington will hold combined IEP meetings, so annual reviews, which will be held over at Harrington and Hartford schools. A case manager from Lenape High School will also be invited to attend those meetings to help plan for the transition. In July, IEPs are transferred over to Lenape High School. And then there are some activities in the summer. There is a freshman orientation that is typically right before school starts, and Camp Lenape. And these are some activities that can help your child become a little more familiar with Lenape High School prior to the first day of school. So I know if you watched the first presentation, there are levels of instruction here at Lenape High School. One of the number one questions that is asked in this presentation is, what level should I choose for my child? We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but I did want to highlight that on this slide, you will see there are some additional levels listed that may not have been listed on the general education presentation, and that is the bottom two bullet points of pull-out replacement courses. And this is a level of courses that are for special education students only. It does not mean a special education student cannot take a different level. It just means that these courses are only open to students with an IEP because they do provide a very small class size and they are designed to meet the needs of individual students within the class. And there's also a few of our courses have something called adapted instruction, and that is instruction that requires significant curricular adaptations. Typically, you might see that in a PE class. So wanted to include that because these are some levels that were not on the general presentation. So the big question is, how do I choose the appropriate level of instructions? So there are some things that are looked at. Things that you could consider carefully would be your child's strengths and weaknesses, previous placement, standardized test scores, current grades, teacher recommendations, and ideally the post-secondary goals that you and your child have to determine the appropriate level of instruction. Now, it is a different year, so we always try to try to pair the student success from middle school going into the high school. I know this has been a very different year for everybody. So it is important to take some of the guidance and recommendations that you may be hearing from teachers and potentially the case managers here at Lenape when you have an IEP meeting. I went over a little bit about that transition process. So prior to that IEP meeting, that case manager would have already spoken with your child's teachers, would have potentially done some observations of your child, and at least would have talked with the case manager and reviewed standardized test scores. And that meeting is very important because at that meeting, that case manager can give you some insight to what the programming looks like at Lenape High School. So the good news is that everybody who does have a child with an IEP who will be scheduled for an IEP meeting will have the opportunity to speak with people to know your child and know what it looks like going over to the high school before finalizing these courses. So I know in the initial meeting you were told of how to log into Genesis and register and start picking courses. Please go ahead and do that. That is very important. But I would like everyone to know if you have questions or you're unsure and you just want to talk with somebody a little bit more, you'll get that opportunity in the IEP meeting, and any of those selections that you would like to change can be changed. So a little bit about Lenape High School special education programs and services. So a course that we have here at Lenape High School, it is auto-filled into your child's schedule. It is called Individual Studies. So I am going to allow our department coordinator, Mr. Tony Guerrera, to share a little bit more about that course at this time.
Hi, my name is Tony Guerrera, and I am the special education coordinator at Lenape High School. I would like to take a moment to describe the individual studies course that each student with an IEP is required to take at Lenape. As you can see on the slide provided, it's a 5-credit curriculum-based course where a teacher provides support and monitors your child's progress. The curriculum is available to view online at the web address located on the slide. But very briefly, I would like to summarize for you the role of the individual studies teacher, the function and purpose of the class, and the expectations and goals for the students. The role of an individual studies teacher is primarily to help your child or young adult get acclimated to high school, to help them transition to Lenape High School. Transitioning into a new school can be stressful for both the student and parents. Through this individual studies class, your child will have a resource within the school helping them learn the building, the schedule, and how things work around Lenape. We keep track of your students' grades and touch base with their teachers to keep your son or daughter on track in their classes. In essence, the individual studies teacher is a liaison or middle person between teachers and you, the parents. The individual studies teacher is the point person in the building. They have daily contact with your son or daughter and access to their content area teachers. We do not serve as a crutch, but more of a support bridge to becoming more independent. The function and purpose of the individual studies class is a place to complete homework, assignments, projects, and study for tests for all of your students' academic classes. We make sure the student is receiving all of their accommodations listed in his or her IEP. If your son or daughter is having trouble in a class, we are your resource in the building to help that student problem solve and advocate for themselves in their classes. Students do receive a grade for their individual studies class. Like I said, it's a 5-credit course, so throughout the year, we will have small assignments due in this class that will enhance and improve study skill habits, time management skills, and students will create short and long-term goals as well. It's a support class with the benefit of gaining school credit. The curriculum is loaded with organizational and study skill builders. All students will create a student advocacy portfolio. This is a collection of materials about them as an individual, which they will keep with them throughout their 4 years at Lenape as they grow as a student. The individual studies curriculum will cover the areas listed on that Google slide you're looking at, that you're currently viewing: literacy, note-taking skills, self-advocacy, study skills, and technology and research skills. In addition, as your son or daughter progresses through their remaining years at Lenape, the individual studies courses will expand to include exploring post-secondary interests, opportunities, and other transitional components to help your son or daughter prepare for their next step after high school. The curriculum is flexible and layered in order to provide plenty of time for doing assigned work for their content area courses and their support needs. So assignments are spread out and have extra time built into them. The expectations and goals of the class for students are to stay organized, improve time management, and study skills. Students will get to know their IEP and accommodations. They will use homework planners and review their grades on Genesis regularly. They will utilize a program called Naviance to identify learning styles and personality traits to help them learn better. They'll also have access to computers in the classroom for academic needs. If you have any other questions about the individual studies course, please do not hesitate to let us know. We look forward to working with you and your children at Lenape in the near future. Thanks for your time.
I would like to talk a little bit now about more of our program and related services. At Lenape High School, we offer in-class support, also known as team teaching. A regular education teacher and special education teacher work together in a general education setting. All students in these classes receive academic and organized support, and in-class support can be provided based upon a student's individual need, but is determined at the IEP team meeting. If you have an interest or want to talk further about in-class support, that would be a conversation that you speak up at the IEP meeting. There is not currently an option to select in-class support on course selection sheets. The pull-out replacement courses I spoke of earlier in the presentation are special education classes, only open to special education students and taught by a special education teacher. These classes are a very small group, and they're developed for students who require significant academic support, and instruction is driven by individual need. Classes for ninth graders are offered in English, math, science, and health. The middle school may refer to these classes as pull-out instruction, pull-out resource, or extended resource. If your child is taking classes at the pull-out replacement level, it is recommended that elective choices are made for exploring classes, which are noted on the course selection sheet. Lenape High School hosts self-contained programs for students with autism and multiple disabilities. These students will receive all academic courses offered within the programs, as well as adaptive physical education. Emphasis in these programs is on functional life skills and placement determined by child study team. Students in these programs throughout their years here at Lenape High School will have the opportunity to participate in our pre-vocational program, which offers them opportunities throughout our building to learn tasks and improve on those functional life skills. Our program hosts an amazing staff, and we have several classes within our programs that are in close proximity to one another. Students in their self-contained programs have the opportunities to go on a community-based experiences. They have opportunities to meet with students in similar programs that are sister schools. Once a marking period, they will be hosting activities with each school. Lenape High School hosts in the third marking period the annual Wii tournament. In this program, there are several electives that are cycled throughout high school to ensure that every student has the opportunity to take the electives. Some of them include retail careers, which is our school store, pre-vocational skills, human behavior, Spanish, living skills, computer applications, photo, art, graphic presentations, woodworking, and community-based training. Lenape High School school store is called the Trading Post, and students who take the retail careers course will be working in the school store on various retail experiences. Extracurricular offerings and self-contained programs also include Adaptive PE Club, which is an after-school club, and Circle of Friends, which is a Friday club in which students go bowling with non-disabled peers. Social recreation is an activity that is offered on Mondays after school for special education students, where they are joined by various clubs and activities.